Hello, America. This is Call of Duty Goddess. Today is November 17th, 2016. I'd like to talk about the Trump presidency, what I think's going to happen within the next couple years. And I'll show you why. I'm at the House Oversight and Reform YouTube channel. And just by looking at the last couple days of their hearings, I'm seeing something that I think is imminent. And I think that is a huge terrorist attack, even bigger than 9/11. I think the Obama administration has set up Trump for just that thing. And if you look at the cybersecurity that's going on, if you look at who's head of the DHS, if you look at all of the things that they are implementing now all at the same time in all of the departments and all of the problems that they've had over the last couple of years, you will see that it is imminent. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this UN headquarters is being built in Copenhagen. This is what it looks like, and it's ready. So it looks as though they're planning on blowing up the UN headquarters.
The new UN city is down here. Actually, I'm looking down on this nasty building, you can say, which I've been talking about before. Copenhagen is being changed very, very much because Copenhagen is the center of the world, as the coordinator for this building has expressed. He talked about one UN and one voice and one world government, he didn't say, but actually that's what you can understand from the words. This building down here is not just an office building, it's an extreme building, and it has cost almost $200 million to build, and this has been paid by the Danish taxpayers. What I want to say with this is when New York goes bye-bye, yes, I'm talking about when New York goes bye-bye. What I mean is that when an atom bomb or something blows up New York, well, then the UN headquarters in New York will be gone. But here we have it. We have the new headquarters for UN in the center of the world, which is Copenhagen, obviously. This is why Copenhagen and Denmark plays a cardinal role in the bigger game on the planet, you can say. Something very, very dark and nasty is going on in this country and has been going on for a very long time. This is why Shakespeare or Francis Bacon expressed that there's something rotten in the state of Denmark. It is very rotten, and we see it in plain sight now. It's so extreme what goes on in Copenhagen and in Denmark, how the population is being, you can say, degraded, dissolved, disconnected, disrupted, destroyed. It's so devastating what goes on now in Copenhagen. And this building, it seems to fit so very well with the Vatican Square, with the obelisk in the middle, and you could actually take this building and just lower it over the obelisk. You know, it might just be wild ideas or thoughts or whatever, but they want a World War III. They want the World War III to start, and they are, you can say, working on it very much. And now we have all the stuff with Putin and Russia and Ukraine and so on. Actually, it has been said by many of these, you can say, prophecies and so on, that something would start with Ukraine, and then some big cities in the United States would be blown up by the atom bombs and so on, nuclear weapons. And many things would be going on actually, and I just suspect, and I have suspected this building since 2008 or 2009, that this was actually for the world government. Since I was in Rome in July 2009, and Pope Benedict, he expressed that the world needs a world government with real teeth. And when looking at this building, I find it a building with real teeth, you can say. And you know, you just have this feeling, you have this something that, and it all fits together when looking in Copenhagen, when looking in Denmark, what is going on.
Speaking of things fitting together, I mean, look at how the media is reacting to Trump's win. I mean, they're all bawling and stuff. Come on now. This is like overacting. You know what I mean? I've got to say, I don't know if Trump is on the up and up or not. I'm not in his head. I can only go by his actions. When it comes to politicians, or actually people in general, you really have to look at their actions and not specifically listen to their words, because anyone can lie. So that's my feeling and the feeling of another man. Let's move on to another feeling that a person has, and I think he's pretty much right on the money. This is an article titled "World Suffers from Trump Shell Shock. Here's what will happen next." So to be clear, if you understand the minds of globalists and understand what they want, you can understand the basic direction of the future. It's the philosophy which has allowed me to constantly and accurately predict geopolitical and economic events that very few people have been able to predict. I'm often correct because it's a fact that globalists influence events. Globalists are human, at least partly. Thus, they are predictable, making events predictable. If you can see from the perspective of a globalist, you will know what they want and what they're likely to do to get it. Even if Trump is a legitimate anti-establishment conservative, his entry into the Oval Office will seal the deal on the economic collapse and will serve the globalists well. The international banks need only pull the plug on any remaining life support to the existing market system and allow it to fully implode, all while blaming Trump and his conservative supporters. The mainstream media has been consistently comparing Trump supporters to Brexit supporters, and Trump himself has hatched his political wagon to the Brexit. This fits perfectly with the globalist narrative that populists and conservatives are killing the global economy and placing everyone at risk. That really makes a lot of sense if you think of the collapse coming after Trump's win. And if you look at the reaction of people after Trump's win, all the world's a stage, folks. All the world's a stage. And he goes on to say, all of my predictions are rooted in a particular premise, that the global elites have been since 2008 at least, deliberately setting the stage for an evolving international financial crisis greater than any other seen in modern history. This crisis is a means to an end. Globalists use one strategy above all others to achieve their goals, and that's the Hegelian dialectic: problem, reaction, solution. The elites openly call for the ultimate eradication of a national sovereignty and the formation of a single world economy, a single world currency, and eventually a single world government. In order to make this omelet, they intend to break a few eggs and collapse a few economies. By blaming national sovereignty and the people that defend it for the crisis, they hope to convince the masses that the only practical solution is total centralization. He specifically predicted the Brexit and the Trump win based on another premise, that the elites are allowing conservative movements to take political power in certain regions only to remove stimulus support from the global economy afterwards. That is to say, I successfully predicted the Brexit and the Trump win because I understand and accept the reality that conservatives and liberty activists are not winning. We are being set up as scapegoats for a financial crash that the globalists already created. This brings us to what will happen going into 2017. The election of Donald Trump signals a sea change in not only global politics, but more importantly, global economic stability and social developments. As frenetic and insane as 2016 has been, 2017 will be drastically more chaotic. Some of these changes will be obvious. Some of them, once again, will only be visible to a handful of people in the world. Let's start first with my happier predictions. Death of the mainstream media. Can we be that lucky? The crippling of social justice warriors. The end of mainstream polling. And liberty groups will get some breathing room for a little while. With conservatives launching into 2017 with complete control of government and a Trump mandate, it would seem that liberty groups have won the fight, and have nothing to worry about. With that said, don't get too comfortable, folks, because now we are going to discuss my negative predictions going into the next year. And I would agree with him, and I'd like to show you about the Liberty Group not necessarily winning the fight. I'll show you.
If you were president, newly elected president, would you keep Comey on as FBI director?
Look, I am not in the position to make that direction.
Do you have confidence in him personally?
Yes, I do have confidence in him. I have nothing to believe that he was politically motivated. He had a duty and an obligation to actually present to Congress the fact that he was, because of our July hearing, that he was actually continuing the investigation when he said that it was had concluded. It was obviously not. They were going to spend money and resources. He had to notify Congress. And so to that regard, he did the right thing.
I personally find it shocking that Chaffetz would say that when in the hearing that his committee held, they brought up the quid pro quo that Comey's department, the FBI, did with the State Department. And they had to subpoena the documents, not once, but twice. And it was because of James Comey. And they're totally leaving that out. That tells me that this is political theater yet again. And if James Comey is left on as FBI director, and I have to say, I'm not sure if Trump has the responsibility of letting the FBI director go or not. I'm not sure if he can do that. But if James Comey is left in as the FBI director, there is, in fact, going to be an attack. There has to be. Because that way he can cover up who does the attack. The final stage of economic collapse. I predict that the central banks around the globe will further cut stimulus measures and that the Fed is now guaranteed to raise interest rates, probably in December before Trump even enters the White House. I also believe that the process of initiating a market crisis will take approximately 6 months to become widely visible to the public. As a consequence of the Fed pulling the plug on the markets, I predict Trump and the Fed will enter into open hostilities against each other, which will erode international faith in the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. By extension, Trump's presence in the White House will exacerbate already existing tensions with Saudi Arabia. The Saudi 9/11 bill is just the beginning. As a result, I believe Saudi Arabia will dump the U.S. dollar as the petrocurrency, influencing numerous other OPEC nations to do the same. I believe this will happen by early 2018. He goes on to say that the Liberty Movement and Trump will be blamed for the economic crisis that was really decades in the making. And he says, in reality, half of America is already primed to blame Trump for everything that happens over the next 4 years. Bottom line, I do believe that it's coming, and it will be here while there's a conservative in office. That will further cement their side of the picture, if you will. This is Call of Duty Goddess. I'll leave all the links below. Signing off, and as always, I've got your 6.